Hi guys, welcome to Human or Athlete, another episode, another week. I'm super delighted to introduce Johnboy Smith, an inspirational story that we're going to find out the details behind how he got through it. And yeah, a brilliant episode coming. So delighted to have you on it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Brilliant. Well, I'm sure, it's been a delight, honestly, kind of researching and learning about your story in a way. And it would be really good to kind of hear it from you and kind of give us a kind of a guideline through what's happened and kind of everything, the journey you've been on.
Yeah. No worries. Yeah, no problem at all.
So yeah, do you want to talk us through it?
Oh yeah, sorry, mate. Yeah. So I'll give you the short version. Yeah, early life, grew up. Yeah, pretty simple way of living. Yeah, like I say, all the years primary school, secondary school, everything like that. Dropped out of school quite early. Secondary school, I did 1 year in secondary school. Left in year seven, or after year seven, to pursue a happy career of being a market trader. I was offered a job when I was, but like I say, before I was even in my teens. Thought it was a good idea to leave school and get a job for 30 quid a week. So yeah, that didn't last too long. But yeah, then jump forward a few years. I suffered a spinal injury when I was 16 years old. Which left me with paralysis, like paralysed from the waist down, really. That was, God blimey, that was in 2006, I believe. Yeah.
Mad, crazy. Do you mind going into kind of what happened?
Yeah. Well, like I said, I'll keep the gory details out. But when I was 16, I was doing a lot of work around farms and such, because I live in Kent, like in rural Kent. Literally the wrong place at the wrong time is the only way I can really say it. I was mistaken for a poacher. I was, like I say, the wrong place at the wrong time. I hopped over the wrong fence, so to speak. Like I say, I was with my dogs. I was out walking my dogs in the countryside. Mistaken for a poacher, and got shot. A gamekeeper shot me. So rather than coming up to me and asking, like, who are you? Why are you on my property? The reason why he thought I was a poacher, I think he had a bit of trouble on his land, say the days building up to it, to my injury. And instead of saying, like, obviously what he should have done was coming over and asking who I am and what am I doing, he thought I was the poachers coming back or something like that. And shot me from about 100 yards away. Ridiculous. Shot me in the spine, and so instant paralysis straight after. And the rest is history, as they say, really.
Yeah, and then at 16, that must have kind of been ridiculous. What was that process like in a way? I know it's at 16, so
yeah, it's a funny old thing, mate. Like I was pretty active. Like before my spinal injury, I was an amateur boxer. I didn't do anything like I say, I wouldn't look at ever turning pro or anything. It was more of a hobby. Like I say, I come from a family of like I say, so I've got some family members, some cousins, some uncles who used to do judo, kickboxers, boxers, like contact sports sort of thing, like before the days of MMA and stuff like that. So it was kind of natural for me to pick up as a hobby. And like I say, I used to go to the local boxing club 2 or 3 times a week. And to go from being very active to, like I say, in an instant being put in a wheelchair, I was on bed rest for 3 months. Things like literally from one extreme to the other, and it was difficult, don't get me wrong, like with my injury. But what I think helped, and this is probably going to sound silly, I was so, if this is the right word, I was so ignorant to spinal cord. Like I didn't even know there was such a thing as a spinal cord. And that's the honest truth. Like when I saw people in wheelchairs, I thought people were born in wheelchairs. I didn't know you could be put in a wheelchair, if that makes sense. So like I say, say 3 or 4 days after my injury, the doctor comes around, like, it must be an horrible job to have, don't get me wrong, but he comes around and he's the one who tells you, like, sorry, John, but you're never going to walk again. And I was literally like, okay, why? Then they go into this, like, because you took a gunshot wound, spinal injury, like a spinal cord was damaged, so on and so forth. And so I was learning through my injury, rather than it being such a shock. Oh, my spinal cord's damaged. I know exactly why I'm paralysed. Blah blah blah. I was a bit like, right, okay, then. Now I've got to learn to live with this. What can I do about it? Like, I had to have hope. Like, there's always I've got that I've always had the mentality, even before my injury, like my glass is half full and not empty.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to thrive off that. And what really helped me was I was probably depressed about my injury for about 3 days. And this is the honest truth. And the only thing what got me through it was I woke up one morning, let's say 3 days, 2 days, 4 days, it could have been. I woke up and I had my dad sitting to my right, and he was neither here or there. He was literally just slumped back, staring into space and like probably thinking, what's happened to my poor 16-year-old boy, you know? I looked to the other side, and my mum's sitting on the other side of my bed, like I say, red eyes, bloodshot eyes, where she's been crying so much. Her kid's been paralysed, and we still don't know anything about it. Like we're in the learning stages, like getting to know the reasons why and whatnot, not how to live with it, not the reasons why. And I remember I said to my mum, I just said, look, don't worry about this. I'm gonna sort this. Don't worry. And I just had to pick myself up, like, because I tell you what it is, Elliot. There's 2 ways you can go with a spinal cord injury.
Mm-hmm.
You go the good way, which is you can say, okay, I've lost feeling from the waist down, or whatever the case may be, the chest down, whichever. But what can I do with my half full glass?
Mm-hmm.
You've got that way to go, or you've got the other way, which is obviously it can't be helped. No one chooses which way you go. But it's like I say, people go into a slump, they get depressed, they gain weight, then they got health issues and stuff like that, which is, don't get me wrong, I've been in some dark places. I'm not the brightest, whatever you want to call it. I've had dark days, mate. Trust me, I can talk to you all day about it. But I was fortunate enough to have the willpower, not the mental strength. It wasn't the mental strength that got me through, because, like I say, there's good days and bad days in everyone. It was willpower.
What's the difference between mental strength and willpower?
Right. With, like I say, with mentality, the mental strength of it is, you can live like, let's say, I will be an elite athlete. This is not going to slow me down. I will get up. I will walk again, if you will. I'll channel my positive energy into this. Then you've got willpower. It's like, what can I do with this?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is my situation. I've accepted my situation. I'm paralyzed from the waist down. What can I do with this? Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's like, instead of like you're saying, like the mental strength is kind of like a self-confidence, a self-belief, while the willpower is just kind of slowly just chugging along, like logically just going, okay, this problem, let's work it out, let's get to the next one.
Exactly. That's exactly it. And that's the way I went, mate. And I'm pretty sure I was 14 weeks on bed rest. It could give or take a week or two. But once I was out of bed, once I said, right, yeah, you can sit up and sit in a wheelchair, the physios come around, they keep you active, they keep you supple, like showing you how to stretch and everything. And I remember a physio said to me, like, say it was Saturday and Monday, they come around and go, right, tomorrow morning, Tuesday, we're going to work hard. Now, what was it he said? It was like, this is when the serious stuff begins. This is when you can no longer, like, basically I was trying to say, like, now your relaxed stage is over.
Right.
Now this is when the hard work begins. And it was intense physio
mm-hmm.
to play the best hand I could with the cards I was dealt.
Mm-hmm.
And then, then it was about another 3 months of rehabilitation.
Crazy. It's a real kind of, I'd say the difference, you look at kind of the injuries that, for example, are frequent in football, in my sport and stuff like that. And it's, you've got your ACLs, you've got all this stuff, but,
mm-hmm.
and they're very much kind of, the mental hurdle, and then, the big physical rehabilitation for a year or whatever, with the kind
mm-hmm.
of the light at the end of the tunnel is always, okay, if you, most of the time you've got a good chance, can I get back to playing, to playing where I was at? But for you, it's kind of like, where is that light at the end of the tunnel? Like, that's what really gets me, is like, there's no, like, where did that end? Like, most people say, oh, okay, I got an end goal, that's where I'm going to get there. And so where did that drive, that willpower come from to keep going, when, like, it seems like there's,
Well, to be honest, there was no, like I say, this is just me. This is the black and white story of it, mate. There was no inner strength. There was no there was nothing like that for me. I felt like I didn't have a choice, because I thought to myself, if I don't do something with myself, if I go the way no one wants to go, if I go deep, if I go inside myself, forget what this is going to do to me. What's this going to do to my family, the people around me? I felt like I never had a choice. No pressure was put upon me. Don't get me wrong. I don't want it to sound like that. But I thought, I can't go any other way besides up. I'm, like I said, the mentality I've got with everything I do in life, there's good always comes out of bad. The glass is always half full and never half empty. It's just, what can I do with that? And that was it. I just felt like I never had a choice. I was like, okay, let's work on getting the glass full again. Brilliant. Physically, I've lost 50% of my body. Not lost. I've lost the feeling. I've lost the use of my legs. I've got all this upper body. What can we do with it?
Brilliant. It blows my mind. It's crazy. What was it like, kind of like the mental side of, you know, that identity, that self kind of crisis? Because there's, you know, a big thing around that. And you know, 16, that's when you're building who you are.
Yeah.
So what was that like?
It was, like I say, I didn't give myself a lot of time to dwell on it, but how I looked at it was, it's all like the basis started off like the groundwork, if you will. I started from the bottom. I thought myself, right, I'm never going to be a boxer again. That's never going to happen. I just thought myself, worst case scenario, because look, things can happen. But I thought, worst case scenario, if I never walk again, what can I do? It was one of those things like, what can I do with, like I say, with my upper body? What sport is there? What can I do? How can I get fit and healthy again? Because don't get me wrong, like I say, when I was able-bodied, I was a fit 15 stone. So I was a strong kid. Like I say, 16 years old, I was 15 stone amateur boxer. Yeah. When I come off a bed rest, I weighed 7 stone. Jesus. You know what I mean? I lost literally half my body weight, upper and lower, obviously, because I lost muscle mass in my legs. But because, like I say, I had 3 operations. I was on nil by mouth, like quite a lot, where you can't eat and drink. Like, oh, you could be having an operation tomorrow, the next day, blah, 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 blah. Lost hell of a lot of weight. But it was, just getting back to the beginning, it was devastating, don't get me wrong. Like, when you're laying there, you've got a lot of time. When you're in a hospital, like I say, I hope you say no to this, but if you've ever been in hospital and you're laying there when the ward's quiet, when everyone's gone to bed, and you're laying there and you're alone with your own thoughts in a crisis like this, like I say, 16-year-old kid who's gone through a life-changing event, some funny old things go through your mind, you know, but the things I was thinking, like things you shouldn't have to think about when you're a 16-year-old kid. Can I ever have children? All this. Will I ever get married? Will anyone ever want me? There's a lot of stigma attached to. Well, people think there's a lot of stigma attached. I say at the beginning, the world, you're against the world. You've got a chip on your shoulder, and you know what I mean. And you have to get past that. It was a couple of days, a good 3 or 4 days, where I was thinking, you know what? Would I have been better off if the gun was aimed 2 feet high and blew the back of my brains out? Some dodgy old things go through your head, mate, honestly.
Yeah, it's what it seems like as well, what you just kind of mentioned, is that fear, like so many of us live life with, of the fear of kind of being abandoned. I mean, like that is the foundational fear that sparks why we compare ourselves, why, like, you know, we the fear of approval, we don't get enough from everyone. Like that thing of being abandoned is all of it. And so it's kind of like you went, you know, not through a choice of your own, obviously, but you hit that rock bottom in that fear, and you face that direct fear of, you know, I've, you know, lost a lot here. Yeah. But it wasn't, okay, so you've kind of got that, and then you're kind of like, well, that's it. That's all there is. Like you face that deep fear that not many people ever kind of even know exists or get it within reach of. And so from there, you've kind of gone, well, this is how it goes. And not only that, but it's like the honesty that you had with yourself to even face those thoughts, and to not kind of, you know, you see people when they get to the dark place, they turn to drink, they turn to everything but having those thoughts. You just, in that situation, was just like, well, that fear is there. Bang, what can I do?
That was exactly it, mate. Like, I really do wish there was this big glamorous story to make everything sound good. Like, oh yeah, I inspired myself. I did this. I did that. You just hit the nail on the head. It was like, okay, here's my situation. I've got no choice. I can look. You can. Right. Look at it like this. You're never going to stop the rain by complaining.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I'm saying? You can complain as much as you want about this situation. It's not going to bring anything back. That's how I looked at it. I can whinge and cry and moan about all of this. It's never going to make everything repair. And I go, oh, I was just a dream. That wasn't going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So why kid myself? Why sit there and wait for a miracle to happen? Why give everybody else around me and myself false hope?
Mm-hmm.
What good is that going to do anybody?
In the way, though, I kind of disagree in that it's not an inspirational self kind of thing story, because to tell that to any 16-year-old right now and say, kind of, I don't like swearing on here, but cut the bullshit and look at life honestly and realistically and no delusions. You're not going to get many in this whole planet anywhere near that age, let alone 20s, 30s, that people look at life that way. And that's like, that's why I kind of look at it and go, well, that's crazy that, you cut all that. And, that for me, that is an inspirational kind of thing where it's come from you. You've gone, I've got to face this head on straight away. And, if you don't, you're not there for 3-4 days of, depression, down and slump. You're there for years.
Yeah.
And that's the difference in a way, like that you face that deep, dark fear that we all have head on.
Well, it's one of them things. Like I don't know if you want to say I'm humble or anything like that, but like I say, we'll get to this, I assume, in a little while, but even the things I do today and the things I've done in the past in my sporting career, the honest truth is, like I say, the only thing that motivates me is if someone comes up to me and says, Johnboy, you're the reason I get up in the morning. I was in a bad way. I listened to this podcast. I saw a post on social media. Because of you, I got up and did something myself. That's all I want. Because I never had anybody in this situation for me to look to when I was injured. Mm-hmm. There was no such thing as social media back then. The only thing I know was there was such thing as an email address. I couldn't Google. Well, I didn't know you could Google inspirational this, inspirational that. Like, I just wanted to be the person someone could look at and go, if that fella can do it, who's come from nothing, why can't I? That is it.
Yeah. And like my big thing that I probably say on every single episode is that self-centeredness is the source of suffering. Yeah. And that,
oh God, yeah.
Like I live with that, but like that drives my life. And straight away you've gone to, my family looking around, how can I be the person to, to be independent, to do this without they can't grieve over me and this, because I'm not going to let you, I'm going to crack on. And the other people can look up to you and be this inspiring thing, because you immediately take away any self-pity, any of that kind of thing, because you're like, well, I'm doing it for the other people. And so it becomes like this, in a way, like they call it wise selfishness. By giving to others, you help yourself. And like that, it just embodies what you've done, and it's crazy. Really.
That is just literally fighting fire with fire, because like any situation, if you feel sorry for yourself and you pass the buck on to other people, where's the positivity in that? If I feel sorry for myself right now, I'll give you a sob story, and then I'll make you feel down in the dumps about it. I'll make you feel sorry for yourself. If we're crying on each other's shoulders, me and you are going nowhere. But let's say, for example, let's role reverse a second, and don't get me wrong, God forbid, let's say you was in the same situation. I wouldn't be patting you on the shoulder. Oh yeah, you'll be all right. Don't worry. It'll pass. Oh, you'll be all right. I don't want to hear that. You don't want to hear that deep down. I'll be like, right, let's get up and do something. What can we do? What time you got physio? Oh, 2 o'clock. Yeah, I'll come with you. You don't. Who wants that? No one wants anything. You need positivity in anything in general. Like, blimey, I've got 2 kids over here. I've got I've got a set of twins, 2 years old, just turned 2. I haven't got time to do anything else. Like I say, my hobby is being a dad. Could you imagine if I was the sort of person who's like, or still feel sorry for myself over a decade later? What sort of father would I be? What sort of inspiration would I be to my kids? Like when they go to school, oh, this is my dad. My dad's Johnboy Smith. I'm proud of my dad. I'm proud to be his daughter. Or the same as my wife. Do I want her to be my wife, or do I want to be my emotional support all the time? In any walk of life, mate, it's all about positivity. You've got to be the best version of. You've got to be the best version of yourself. Not for others, but for you. Because if you learn to love yourself, that's all that matters. And when people see you're a positive person, you're a happy person to be around, people thrive off that.
If you love yourself, you love others. If you hate yourself, you hate others.
Yes. And it's the same way as well. Like me, I honestly thrive off of positivity. I don't want to be around negative people. If let's say, like I say, I'm praying for when it happens, but when lockdown's eased and we can go out in groups again, if I'm with someone, so if I'm in a crowd of 10 people and there's one negative person there who's just bringing the world down, I'm like, mate, you got to go somewhere else. I want to stay with the other 9 positive people over it. Yeah. One person like that, for no good reason, can bring down a whole group.
Yeah.
Don't be that person. You know what I mean? Just in any walk of life, mate. Any walk of life. That's how I look at it.
Exactly. And it's like the foundational thing is if you just add in a little bit of, like, let's just focus on what I can focus on. Let's focus on the good. And the compounding effect of like just a little bit every single day, or in any conversation, every experience, it doesn't, you can't compare it to anything else. It's everything in a way.
Exactly.
How did you kind of build on then, okay, I've got to work this out. And then how did you get into sports, and what was then, how did you start that journey?
Right, I got into sport the way it was. Well, let me think. This was while I was still in hospital. I was off of bed rest, and a friend of mine owned a gym about 15, 20 minutes where I was living at the time. And he comes and visits me. He said, "Did you know there's such a thing now as wheelchair bodybuilding?" And I was like, "Never heard of it." Like, say, I was always a fan of it. Like, say, Arnold Schwarzenegger back in the day in the 70s and all that. I was into that. I had some knowledge of bodybuilding and powerlifting and everything. I was interested in it. And he says, "Right, when you're out of hospital, come down and see me, and we'll work something. We'll work out a weightlifting program. We'll get you, like I say, get you on a good diet, build your strength up." Because he was a good enough friend to go, "Look, John boy, you're looking a bit skinny here, bruv. We've got to get you a bit sorted out. You know what I mean? You've got to get some strength back." Like, because he heard the story. Because I was so weak at the time when I was first up and about in a chair. My mum had to push me around in a wheelchair. Yeah. And I thought, I can't have this. I thought myself, I'm a young boy. I can't have my mum pushing me around everywhere for the rest of my life. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I worked hard in the physio room. Like I say, I was motivated to get myself enough strength to push myself around in a wheelchair. Like the physios let me take dumbbells back to my bed space so I could lift some dumbbells when I could, basically. Yeah. And he got word of that. And it was a couple of months after I was discharged from hospital, I went down to see him, and I got into that. It was it's what they call natural bodybuilding. So there was no gear or anything involved, anything like, say, what you shouldn't be doing. I got into that. I did that for, not competitively, just to basically, let's skip forward to when I was, say, 17. What young 17-year-old boy don't want to look good? Take your top off when you're on holiday, you know what I mean? It was just all about that, just a bit of, I don't know.
Just something to,
a bit of self-esteem. Like I say, okay, like, let's build the top half because the bottom half's not going anywhere, you know what I mean? So, I just got into that. A couple of years down the line, he then become, like I say, my coach as well as my friend. Like, used to train each other every day as my training partner. And he discovered, I think I was on a bench press at the time. I was doing, let's say it was chest day. And he comes up to me, he goes, "Do you realise how much you're repping?" And I'm like, I don't know, whatever it was, I don't know, 80, 90, 100 kilos, I can't remember for the life of me. He pulls out this magazine, he goes, "You're bench pressing the British, the British powerlifting record of your weight category. How much do you weigh?" And I was like, 66 kilos. And he said, like, what you're benching now is the British record. But I was repping it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I was like, all right, where are you going with this? You know what I mean? I was like, okay, what's the special? He said, right, we got to get you into a competition. And I was like, oh, mate, leave off. I ain't going into no competition. I was a bit shy, you know what I mean? So he said, you're repping, like, say, sets of 5. He said, you're doing 5 sets of 5 on a bench press with a British record. He said, you could break the British records and you're doing it. So I go, all right, fair enough. So, yeah, going to the competition. It was an able-bodied competition because like powerlifting, powerlifting wasn't that big.
Yeah.
I think it was barely into the Olympics, really, or the Paralympics. So I unofficially broke 2 British records in one competition on a bench press.
Amazing.
So it was funny. Like things just fell into place. Like it was another thing as well. I got quite big because I switched to powerlifting after that, for obvious reasons. I put on a lot of weight. I think I was 14 stone. I got myself up to 14 stone, and I was 7% body fat.
Mad.
But all natural, you know what I mean? All natural. I worked really, really hard. This was 2013.
Mm-hmm.
This was, so jumping forward a bit now. Reading a magazine, and it's a magazine you get. It's called the SIA magazine, Spinal Injuries Association magazine. Just like updates on like recent medical research or people with their own stories you get to read about. And there was an article. It was after the London 2012 Games.
Mad.
So like they were saying like, "I'll come and try your luck. Which sport do you think you'll be good at? Track, field, blah blah blah." And it was over in Chelmsford, over in Essex. And I thought, I'm strong, like I'm fit enough. Let's see what I can do. Let's see what they're offering. And I go over there, and so this lady, look, I can't remember her name. This lady comes up to me. She was an ex-javelin thrower. She goes, "You'll be good at shot put." Straight to her, I was like, all right, yeah, I'll have a go, blah, blah, blah. Throw a couple of shots out there. She goes, right, yeah, I'll get you associated with a club. Mm-hmm. Like, see, it was local, like down in Kent and all that. And then that's where my throwing career began, let's say. Like, because I did 3 disciplines: shot put, javelin, and discus. And I did that for right up until the end of 2014, I believe. I think I'd done 1 season.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's how that took off. I stumbled across that.
Yeah. It's quite interesting to me. Firstly, if you go back to that friend at the gym, is what you were just talking about before, saying someone just kind of came up to you and was kind of like, honesty, and was just exactly what you just talked about, in that said, this is the real truth. This is the honesty. I'm here to help. Let's go. And so I was just, initially that was exactly what we were just talking about before you kind of talked about that example. And then what gets me is that, we live in this life right now where everything's about the external goal. Everything's about, I've got to play in the Champions League, or I've got to score this many goals, or lift this amount, or whatever it is. Everything's got an external bang, that this is what it is. And you kind of just obviously went through your journey for doing it for the sake of it, because you enjoyed it, because, whatever it was, but I assume to say that you loved it, and that was your flow, and that was what you focused on. And then you kind of just watch as everything then comes into place, because it didn't even matter that those things came on the top and on top of it as add-ons. And it's like, that's so natural and so kind of I love that kind of journey so much more than like we just focus on, what car am I driving? How much money am I making? What have I made this year? And it's about that journey of just, if I go out and do all the time what I enjoy, what I love, what brings me flow, what brings me happiness, what brings me to other people, whatever, and I get good at that, then all these other things, these results, these records, the money, the contracts, whatever it may be, will just kind of fall into place and come on top of that. And you just kind of, again, just kind of about your own thing, just follow that.
Mate, that was it. Well, if you think that was a good one, you'll love the story about how I got into wheelchair racing.
Go on then.
So, yeah, again, this one tops it, trust me. So it was the end of 2014. I'm in Berlin. It was for a national championships. I was there for javelin and shot put. So by this time, I developed into a javelin thrower.
Yep.
So, like I say, I got shot. I wasn't very good at, but javelin I was quite. Yeah, it was more technique than speed and power. So I'm in the warm up area. Like I say, that you go into this thing called the call room. Like you warm up, you do what you got to do, and they go, right, John Smith, yeah, your turn to throw and all this and that. So someone from the Paralympic Committee, who I know quite well, she comes up to me. She goes, Johnboy, I got a bit of a word with you. I'm like, I'm warming up. Tell me after. She said, no, I need to tell you now. So she goes, right. Long story short, this is exactly how she said it to me. Long story short, your discipline, which was at the time, it's called F55 javelin. F55 is the Paralympic category you'll be in, like depending on your paralysis or your injury.
Okay.
She goes, F55 jav has just been pulled from Rio. So I'm like, yeah, that face, yeah. So I'm like, okay. I'll say, right, so so have I got the European Championship? Have I got the World? She said, all you can do now is if you win this competition, this is the furthest you can go. So I'm like, okay, right. Thanks for telling me this right now. But I was like, yep, fair enough. So jump forward, I go, right, Johnboy, yeah, your turn to throw. And in javelin, in throwing, you get 6 throws. You can take 3, 2-minute break, take another 3.
Yeah.
So I'm, like I say, I'm in the area like this, got me javelin, bang, throw me first javelin, win it by literally about a metre, win the competition. So they go, oh, yeah, well done. I said, like, so have I won? And they go, said, yeah, that's it. I said, right, okay, forget about it now. They go, you've got 5 more throws. But it doesn't make a difference, mate. Have I won? I said, I'm not forfeiting. I'll just have the one javelin, let me take my medal and go. And I remember this lady I saw in the crowd. Like she was just, like I say, in the front row, so to speak. From a distance, I went, like another, what do I do now? I've won. Go back to my locker room, I'm getting changed. And she sends me a text on my phone and she says, see you on the track with a question mark. Right? So about, I'm at the airport, where was it? Zurich Airport, going to fly on.
How did she get your number?
No, I know the lady. I know her quite well, you know what I mean?
Okay. Oh, okay.
So, yeah, so after that, I go to the airport. I'm looking at her text. I see you on the track, question mark. I'm like, I know where she's going with this. She means wheelchair racing. So I Google in the airport. What was it? I Google, where does David Weir train? Like David Weir being a 6-time gold medalist.
Yeah.
Where does David Weir train wheelchair racing or whatever? It comes up. I track him down. He trains in a place in Sutton over in London.
Yep. So
I go, right, okay, find out where it is, the Weir Archery Academy. This was on Sunday afternoon. I land home Sunday night. Monday morning, I drive from Kent to Surrey. And there was this lady called Jenny Archer, David's coach. I go, all right, Jen. I said, my name's Johnboy Smith. I'm a javelin thrower. I want to be a wheelchair racer. I've never seen a wheelchair before. Never raced in one. I've never even seen it on the telly. So I've only ever heard about it. So I want to be a wheelchair racer. She looks at me. She goes, come back when you've lost about 4 stone, mate. Right? I go, all right, fair enough. Not a problem. Go away, put myself on a strict diet because, like I say, my mate who was who I used to do powerlifting, bodybuilding, he was a nutritionist. I said, look, I need to shred. 4 months, I lose 4 stone.
Wow.
I go back to her. I said, remember me? She looked at me. She goes, no. I went, you told me to lose 4 stone about 4 months ago. She went, oh, right, okay, yeah. Jump in a chair. I'll show you what to do. That was it.
Wow.
That was it. I just stumbled into it. I was like, because I had a dream. I had this Paralympic dream. I thought, I don't care how I'm getting to Rio, but somehow or another, I'm going to get there. I don't care if I've got to push around the track in a wheelbarrow using my upper body. I'm getting to Rio somehow or another. And I went from one extreme, like I say, field where it's all top heavy. I was big and strong. And then I went from 14 stone to 10 stone. Doing endurance sport.
Yeah. Wow.
As quick as that. Just stumbled upon it, mate. That's all I did. I Googled 1 or 2 things and again, the rest is history.
How has it been in wheelchair racing? What was the transition like? Kind of like, again, endurance is a completely different mentality and a whole different approach.
Yeah, mate, it's a different world. Like I was going, because when I first started, I didn't know what I was going to be because you got every event from the 100 meters to the marathon. So for 6 months, we was trying to figure out, right, is he a sprinter? Is he an endurance athlete? Is he somewhere in between? Is he a 1500 meters man, an 800 meters man? And as luck would have it, again, it could be fate, whatever you want to call it, about 3 or 4 months before I actually knew that my event was going to be pulled from Rio, I actually signed up for the London Marathon. And that's true. But again, going back to, I'd never seen a racing chair. I just thought that's something I want to do. Maybe the 2015 wheelchair marathon, I'll have a go at just for something to do. Just oh yeah, I've done it. And I was talking to Jenny, and I said to her, I don't know if this is a good or a bad thing, but I am actually signed up to do the London Marathon in April. And she goes, "Oh, it's February." I was like, "Yeah, that's all right. Don't you know? I mean, yeah, we'll have a go. Why not?" And we did. I did the London Marathon 2015 in April. That was my debut, and I think I did it in 1 hour 46, and it was, I'm sure it was the fastest debut wheelchair marathon ever pushed.
Wow. It's it's interesting to me as well that you're kind of uncovering new sports, new disciplines, you know, and just kind of learning them and going through that whole process. And very rarely do you see people changing sports at all now. And it was a funny thing because, again, it was one of them situations where I didn't have a choice. Yeah. Because my main event was taken away from me. Yeah. Like I say, and don't get me wrong, when I retired from throwing, I was ranked number 1 in the world, and I was world rankings. I was number 1 in the world at my sport. Yeah. I was number 1 in Europe, in the UK, everywhere. Wow. So, and that was just literally just taken away as quick as that. And then back to square one. Back to square one again. Yeah. Where do I start? Where do I go? And if it wasn't for a friend of mine who said that, like, see you on the track, I honestly don't know where I would have gone, because I was so determined to be a Paralympic athlete. I was getting there somehow or another, but I didn't know how. Yeah, it blows my mind, because we're at the moment, like, everybody's played this sport. I've played football since I was 5. I played tennis since I was 2.5. Tiger Woods, I was golfing when I was 1. And you're kind of out here, I don't know how old you were, mid-20s, I want to say, and you're just kind of like, okay, let's start a new sport. Let's crack, and it's just, again, the honesty, the humility, bang, let's be a learner again. Yeah. And that was it. Like I say, from my injury, I was a boxer, because I thought that was the way I was going to go, because I always did a bit of boxing from when I was a toddler right up until my injury, from 16. Like I say, from there, I had a life-changing injury. Since then, I've done 3 different sports. Well, 4 different sports. So I'm on my 4th now. You know what I mean? Like I say, I've done. Well, when was it? I was injured in 2006. Well, we 2021 now. Yeah, 15 years. You know what I mean? In 15 years, I've done 4 different sports. So, what's it kind of like starting square one? Was it just simple and just, again, bang, this is what I got to do? Because you look at everyone now, and it's like a big thing. Like, oh, I'm a beginner again. Like, that was it. That's all it is, mate. Like, I started from the bottom. I had to learn everything. Like, because a lot of people, like I said, if you've seen it on TV, it is pushing a chair in a straight line as fast as you can. But there's so much technique. Yeah. There's, like I say, anyone can jump in the chair and push it, but you've got to learn different push techniques. Like, what do you do when you want to sprint? What do you do? Like, there's a thing called a long arm technique. Like, because I do the marathon, that's my primary event. You can't sprint for 26.2 miles. You have to find that rhythm, that pace to keep the chair going. Yeah. Because, like I say, my personal best for a marathon is an hour 20, let's say hour and a half. To try and sprint for an hour and a half, well, if it could be done, everybody would do it. So you got to learn how to push when you want to do long distance, how to push when you want to sprint. Everything, like, what's the best type of chair to use? There's 50 different types of tires to use. You've got to learn these things. Yeah. And you learn from the textbook, so to speak. Yeah. Then you learn through your own experience, like, what works best for you. How does this work? How does that work? You're literally learning everything from the bottom, and you're trying to do the best you can all at the same time. Because, like I said, I was in my mid-20s. I've been doing this for, this will be my 5th year. My debut was in 6th year. Sorry, my debut was in 2015. So I was in my mid-20s. Don't get me wrong, being an athlete, like I say, it sounds like, oh yeah, you're young, fit, and healthy, but
in an endurance sport, you haven't got a lot of time on your hands. But like I say, before you turn around, you're the wrong side of 30.
Yeah.
So it's going from a novice to where I am now in such a short space of time.
What's the goal? The kind of where are you going to take it? What's the result you've got in mind?
Well, the ultimate goal, like I say, is the Paralympics, and that's in August this year. It was supposed to be last year, but obviously because of COVID, everything was shut down and called off. But like I say, I've done the Commonwealth Games. That was my international debut. I won a silver medal in the T54 wheelchair marathon, which I was pretty proud of. Literally my first international debut.
Incredible.
Yeah, like to be fair, everything's an experience. Everything's a learning curve. Like I say, I've travelled most of the world doing this sport. I've won a few competitions on the way, but ultimately the ultimate goal is the Paralympic Games.
Amazing.
Gold medal at the Paralympic Games, obviously. Yeah.
It will come. The journey you've come on. It's too good to not have that final chapter.
It's got to happen, hasn't it? Let's face it. Yeah, come on.
What's Jenny Archer like? Because I've heard a few things about her, and obviously as a coach, what's she like?
She's brilliant. To be fair, like I say, what she's done in the past, like I say, with Dave Weir and everything, like what Dave has done in his career, no one will be able to repeat in a lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like I say, I've moved on from Jenny now. Like I say, I've different disciplines, different coaches and everything. Like I say, but what that woman had done for me, before I went elsewhere, she got me from nothing to literally a novice to Commonwealth silver medals to get me good enough to be in the Commonwealth Games.
Yeah,
like she's an amazing coach. Like I'm sure she was inducted into the Hall of Fame, the Sports Hall of Fame recently, and she deserves it.
Yeah,
like with Dave, there should be a statue built of that man, in my opinion, for what he's done. Like he started off as a youngster. He's been in a wheelchair racing longer than I've been alive.
Yeah.
And what he did in London, like I say, go back to 2012, 4 gold medals in 4 disciplines.
I remember seeing it. It was crazy.
Speaks for itself, mate. Come on, let's be honest. And like I say, I was proud to have Dave as my training partner. He taught me loads of things. Because in my opinion, I can't remember who said it. An athlete said it once, to better yourself, you have to go against better athletes.
Mm-hmm.
And Dave, being Dave Weir, blimey. Do you know what I mean? I was honoured for him to be my training partner, you know. So as a duo, mate, they're up there with the best, you know.
I mean, that leads me beautifully onto my next question, in that obviously having admiration for the two of them, but even people in general, what do you kind of value most in other people?
Honestly, I'd say trust. Trust. With how you got to look at it, especially as my sporting career is concerned, I'm putting everything I've got into the hands of somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, I remember I said to Jen when I first was working with her, I said, if you give me everything you've got, I'll give you everything I've got. I said, all I will leave on the floor at the end of the day is nothing but blood and sweat. Mm-hmm. And I said, and I trust you to give me the same thing. And she said, if you give me 100%, I'll give you 100% back. Mm-hmm. And that's how it should be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like I say, take fair play to her. She promised me, she said, I'll get you to Rio. She said, not a problem. She said, we'll get you there. So don't worry. I said, it's only a year away, but she was determined to get me there. And from no fault of hers, like I say, where was I going? I was on my way to Korea to do a marathon for a qualifying event for Rio. Mm-hmm. So long story short, on the plane over there, I lost my pressure relieving cushion, like the special cushion I have to sit on in the wheelchair. Lost that, and I didn't have it to sit on, and I sat 10 hours on a plane with no pressure relieving cushion, which led to a pressure sore.
Yeah.
So, and that was in April, and come May, I was back on bed rest with a grade 4 pressure sore. I was literally, like I say, I can't really say too many names, but someone said to me, just keep doing what you're doing, Johnboy, and I guarantee you're going to have a seat on the plane.
Yeah.
And that was, Then I'd say, well, I'm sorry about that, but I'm in hospital at the moment.
Yeah.
So that was, I got there, so to speak, but again, it was one of those things that was taken away.
Well, yeah, you hopefully have a chance to make amends for all that, and yeah.
Oh yeah, mate, I've got a lot of catching up to do. Yeah, literally.
And it'll be even sweeter, won't it?
That's it.
What, looking at this whole journey and everything you've gone through, what would you say is probably the biggest kind of, or like one of the main things that you've learned from everything? It's a broad question, blimey. I know. I know it's a broad question.
Well, I would have to say, what I've learned, if you've got enough determination, anything is possible. Mm-hmm. And it's the same again, like I'm banging on about it, but positivity. There is so much power in positivity, not just sport, but in life. Like I said, go back to what we was first chatting about a minute ago. You've always got to look at everything as in the glass is half full. You know what I mean? You've got, that's how you got to look at it. If you've got enough determination, anything's possible.
Wow. Yeah.
But it just takes a little bit of positivity as well. You have to keep a positive mindset, be determined to go with anything. If you want that dream job, if you want to have all these digits in your bank account, you've got to dedicate yourself 100%. Mm-hmm. Anything you do in life. Like me, like my marriage with my children, I'm a dad, I'm a husband. Determination to be the best husband, the best father, and the best person I can be in sport. 100%. Every time I go training, I don't care if it's going to be a long, grueling session, if it's just going to be a short loosener. If I turn up and I'm in the room and I'm there with you, you can bet your bottom dollar I'm going to be giving it 100% because I'm not there to waste time, and I'm not there to waste your time because you're training with me. I've got training partners. I've got mouths to feed. I need a bit of prize money, mate. You know what I mean? I'm not going to waste time. Everything 100%. You got to have 100% dedication and determination in everything you do.
How do you maintain that 100% determination?
You've got to have a goal, whether it's long term or short term. You have to make your goals your priority. Whatever it is out there, like I say, up and coming amateurs or professional athletes. Like I was watching, I was listening to a podcast the other day. I thought it inspired me. It takes a lot to inspire me because at the end of the day, I try to keep myself positive. Mm-hmm. I look at other people. I've got idols, don't get me wrong. But I was listening to this podcast and I can't remember who was saying it. I keep saying it. I really must remember this thing. But he said, someone said, who's your idol? What's your goal? What do you want to be? And he said, myself in 10 years.
Matthew McConaughey.
Yes, you got it. Yes. Mate, have you heard that speech, Matthew McConaughey? I have it, yeah. And then when this person come back to him in 10 years later and said, are you the person you want to be? He said, no, I want to be myself in 10 years again. Yep. So he was always pursuing himself. When he got to where he wanted to be, that wasn't good enough. Mm-hmm. He set his long-term goals for another decade. Mm-hmm. That's how you got to be. It's like me. When I got to, with my pressure sore with Rio was gone. I had such a bad pressure sore. The consultant said to me, you can go to Rio, not a problem. If you want to ignore what I'm saying, you can go to Rio, but when you come back, I'm probably going to have to amputate your leg. So I was like, right, okay, no Rio for me. I was like, right, what can I do now? What should I do? What's my goal? And I was in hospital watching the Paralympic Games, watching my event, the T54 marathon. Instead of dwelling on it, instead of crying about it, I've got a piece of paper and I've still got it. I wish I had it on me now. I wrote down who won the race and what time they did. Yeah. And I said, in 4 years' time, I'm going to beat that time and I'm going to win a gold medal. I don't care what time this person does. I don't care if they break a world record. I'm going to break a new world record. Mm-hmm. That is still my goal for Tokyo 2021. Mm-hmm. But in between my short-term goals, just be the best you can be. Mm-hmm. Crack on with your sport. Crack on with life. That led me to a Commonwealth silver medal. Mm-hmm. Have an ultimate goal. Have the top goal, but don't forget what's between here and here. Yep. A lot can happen in this little space, but you have to believe that those dreams and those goals in this little space are going to happen. But when you get to here, take this away. When you're at the Paralympic Games and you've got a gold medal, don't just stop because there's nothing there now. Mm-hmm. When you're here, okay, what's here?
Yeah. It's profound. It's kind of like we have this I think there's two people in life that always kind of get me. Is one, is they want this at the top, the dream, the vision, and they don't see the mountain to get there.
Yes,
And they
yeah, blimey, mate.
that's the thing in modern day society, I'd say.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I kind of always say is you keep your dream, you keep your vision, and like you said, you keep your little short term, your next step in front of the other. The rest of it, you'll get there when you get there. But if you keep the next foot in front of you and keep the vision, then you'll make up that ground instead of setting all these targets in between that don't mean anything. And then with the Matthew McConaughey thing, obviously incredible speech. If I put that on you now, what would be what advice or what would you say for that 10-year self you're going after now? What he got that you, not what he's got, but who is he that you want to be? Or is there anything you change, advice, however you interpret that?
Right, advice. I'll be honest. I wouldn't give myself, the person I was 10 years ago, I wouldn't give them any advice because I've got the same mindset as I did 10 years ago.
Amazing.
But the person I will be in 10 years' time, if me and you get together again in 10 years' time,
Part 2,
right, in 2031, you will go, right, John, now that you won those amount of gold medals, what are you going to do next? There's another Paralympic Games, mate. There's another Commonwealth. I'd say, what time did I do in the 2018 Commonwealth Games? Oh, you did a 1:35 marathon. Oh, right, okay, yeah. The one I did after that was a 1:32. The one I'm going to do next is going to be a sub 1:30. My medal collection will get bigger. And trust me, like I say, as long as you have got the determination to do these things and you have got the mindset to push yourself through it, anything is achievable.
Yeah.
Anything. And I swear by that, mate.
I love it. It's do you ever, obviously it's always going to be the improvements of that and the improvements of that. Is there ever kind of like, this is something I always kind of contemplate, is there ever enough? Is there ever like, is there always never going to be like that perfect time, that world record, whatever? Do you know what I mean?
I'll tell you what it is with being, like I say, yourself, being a professional athlete, being a sports person. If I did break a world record, I'd probably tell myself I could have done that faster.
Yeah.
It's never enough. It's hard to know when enough's enough.
Yeah.
All the time you've got a competitive streak, there's never going to be enough. Like I say, I'm satisfied with the things I've done so far. When I won a silver medal, I put my heart and soul into that race, so I know I couldn't have done any better. I came second, but I literally put my heart and soul and every fibre of my being into winning that medal. So I'm satisfied with that. I'm satisfied with my performance. I got a silver medal out of it. Next year in Birmingham 2022, if you think I'm only going to be going for silver again, you've got another thing coming.
Yeah.
It's not that I'm not satisfied with my silver medal. I just want more than that silver medal. And there's never enough.
and I always say that's great, and like respect for everyone who has that. But as long as accept that it's never going to be that, and unless it's, some people chase the perfection, and that kills them in the end. But knowing that it will never be, you'll never be completely. It will never be completely enough, and to just accept that I'm mindlessly. I kind of call it the chasing your tail kind of concept. But to accept that, okay, cool, I'm chasing my tail, but this means something because I love what I do. I don't mind chasing because, you could say everyone's chasing their tail and whatever they want to do. It doesn't matter. But if I'm doing that and I love what I do, then that's life. I'm
so be it.
Exactly. Wow. It's been an absolute pleasure. Would there be, you've pretty much given it and I don't want to kind of backtrack on it, but for someone going through that exact kind of the same accident, a paralyzing spinal accident in this moment in time, and it's coming across this podcast, what would you say that they need to hear?
Right. If I wanted someone to say something to me back in the day when I was injured, when I was in that bed, when I was on bed rest, it's life-changing. It's a terrible thing what's happened, but there is light at the end of the tunnel. Always keep a positive mindset in everything you do. Everything. Be determined. If you have a goal, if you can see light at the end of the tunnel, you nurture that light and you chase it. Don't let anybody doubt you. Don't let anybody hold you back. If you've got a fire burning in here, then that's all that matters. Nothing else matters in the world. As long as you have got the discipline and the determination and a little bit of positivity in your heart and soul, you can do marvelous things.
Wow. That's amazing. Thank you.
And that's the honest truth, mate. That is it. Nothing glorified about it. That's the honest truth. That's what I believe. Amazing. And
yeah, it's incredibly, it's inspiring, to be honest. I'm feeling the energy myself right now. I'm feeling like I'm ready to go.
That's it. Good. That's what I'm here for, mate. That's it. Yeah.
We wrap up every podcast on kind of what separates us from just being kind of athletes and this identity, and to ask you kind of what makes you more than just an athlete. What makes you human?
To be fair, what keeps me grounded the most is definitely my family. Because at the end of the day, no matter how things go wrong in my sport, in my career, my wife and my kids have always got my back. And that's the best feeling in the world for me. No matter what happens, they're always there. Like I say, when I'm out of the racing chair, when I'm out of the gym, when it's all said and done, that's what I've got.
Beautiful.
That's me.
Beautiful. Thank you for your honesty, your energy, like your words. It's been and sharing your story so brilliantly. Thank you. Really
appreciate it, mate. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you for coming on. Sweet.
No worries. Cheers, mate.